next time, I think. Thank you, and apologies for the slight delay because we couldn't get the key open to the balcony, but now everybody's seated, we can get started. And obviously, this year's HAZARD conference starts under the dreadful shadow of the Grenfell Tower disaster, which is going to colour a lot of this discussion we're going to have this weekend. And we will hear more about the disaster and the consequences of that disaster, and particularly the lessons it tells us about deregulation as the conference proceeds. But it's worth remembering that we're here not just to remember the 80 or more people who were killed in that particular horrific incident, but also the tens of thousands of people who are killed by industrial disease or are killed in workplace accidents every year. But because they die in ones and twos or slip quietly away in a hospital bed, don't get the same publicity and don't get the same media attention as that dreadful event did. And that's why we've got the agenda we have in front of us today. I'm not going to say any more about that at the moment, but I'm going to introduce somebody from the HAZARD campaign who's going to give you the running order for the conference and deal with the technical stuff. Normally at this stage, you'd expect to see Hilda Palmer stand up and to give you that sort of stuff. You'll have noticed that she's not on the platform this time. You may have also noticed it's raining for the first time at the start of a HAZARD conference on Friday night. And we're so disappointed with Hilda Palmer and John Bamford for getting it wrong this time that we sacked them both. So, seriously though, we haven't last persuaded both John and Hilda. It's time they start to step back in their drifting gracefully into retirement. And we've got a new worker at the Greater Manchester HAZARD Centre, and also greatly involved in the HAZARD campaign and will be responsible for most of the organising of the conference going forward. And that's Janet Newsham, who's sitting on my far left. I'm sure you all get to know over the weekend, and if you've got any issues you need raising, she's the one to go and ask and bother if you've got any problems. She's got a long track record in working in the trade union movement as a trade union tutor in the North West and a stalwart at Preston Trades Council, and she's a very active trade unionist as well, so I think you'll find her easy to get on with. But I'll hand over to Janet now to give you the initial sort of welcome.
So welcome to the 28th HAZARD Conference, organising health, safety and welfare in an insecure world. And we hope that you enjoyed the Works Memorial Day film that we produced for this year's Works Memorial Day in Manchester. And I'd like to record our thanks to all those people who participated in that film, making the film, at short notice, I might add. And of course the VET2 members and students who made it for us. We hope that you're going to enjoy the conference. There are seats, plenty of seats down front if anybody wants to come and sit down. Hope you're going to enjoy the conference and that you'll leave here feeling more confident, with more knowledge, more skills, and inspired to challenge and change and improve health and safety in your workplaces. There's a lot of new names on the database for this year's conference, so put your hands up if you're here for the first time. Look at that, that's fantastic. So welcome, and if you've been here before, make sure that if you see somebody roaming around on their own, not to stalk them, by the way, but to encourage them and to include them. This is, I think, by far one of the most inclusive conferences that I've been to, been involved in. So make sure that they're not left on their own. And also, perhaps after the plenary session, if you've been here for the first time, you're on your own, perhaps meet up in the bar or somewhere around outside and get to know the people. There's also lots to do this weekend. It's a full-packed weekend, and we've got there's a quiz on the Greater Manchester HAZARD stall. If you want to do the quiz, then we'll have a prize for anybody who wants to do it. So if you've got something for you to do that you might not have thought of doing. We've got a fantastic lineup of speakers this weekend, and it includes all those on the top table. Jessica, who's come all the way from America to speak to us. And Dan Shears, National Officer for GMB, and Tracy Seward and Mid Lancaster from FAC. So, and these are just a few of the speakers that we'll have over the weekend. We've also got lots more, including, of course, Matt Rack, the General Secretary of the FPUs, coming on Sunday. And I'd like to thank everyone who's given up their time to address this conference and to run the workshops, and all those involved in making the weekend a success. I'd especially like to thank John and Eileen Bamford and the HAZARD campaign team for the phenomenal work that they do to get us ready for the conference. For most of you, it's just been about filling in the form and sending it off to your branch secretary. But for the likes of John and Eileen, there's been many hours of deciphering phones, chasing up money, months of preparation and hours spent packing bags, preparing badges and sorting out workshops. You've all been allocated your first choices for the workshops, so please make sure that you go to them. We've had to sort out the rooms based on the numbers, so it's important that you go to those. Make sure you wear your badges at all times. You've got your information for your workshops on the pink cards, and perhaps if Peter Sharma of Unison, whose badge and details have ended up with somebody else's. So perhaps we can make sure that we pass them, we do a swap with you. I don't know, have you got Tracy's? Have you got Tracy's information? All right. So wear your badges at all times. We've had an interesting and busy year since the last conference, not least because of the general election, which we campaigned to keep health and safety on the political agenda. We and put proposals to the Labour Party to put in their manifesto. We've campaigned on many issues, including the opposition to the toxic trade deals which are chasing Brexit. We've challenged the government on its deregulatory agenda and on its disinvestment and enforcement, and its continued negative narrative on health and safety. The recent success of Unison on the employment tribunal fees, which I think tremendous boost for justice, something that the hazards movement have campaigned for a long time. We continue to support and promote the Hazards magazine, which is at the forefront of raising and challenging the many issues affecting workers. You've all got a copy of this in your packs. Please make sure you take it to your workrooms, your workshops, because I'm sure that there's lots of information that you'll be using in them. But they've been at the forefront of challenging things like the breast cancer research fiasco, which was carried out by Oxford University, and trying to make sense of the suicide statistics and the links to occupation. This is an area that we are keen to do some more, to build some more work on. Hilda has continued to work tirelessly with many families seeking justice. And a few weeks ago, I was really pleased to be asked to coordinate a nomination. This is something that Hilda knows nothing about. A nomination on behalf of the health and safety movement for the Liberty Human Rights Award. I can't tell you that she's won it because we're only at nomination stage at this point in time. But I thought it was important that you know how well regarded that she is in the trade union movement. Hilda, as we all know, is a dedicated, knowledgeable and highly respected health and safety campaigner, champion and advocate. And she helped set up the Greater Manchester Hazard Centre in 1987 and has worked tirelessly for it for 30 years. Also a founder member of the National Hazards Campaign and a driving force behind this conference. Chair of the UK National Hazards Campaign and absolutely promotes the International Works Memorial Day every year and challenges everybody, challenges government, challenges in place, challenges us to make sure that we're doing the best for working people, to improve health safety, improve and prevent the causes of ill health and death-related working conditions. I said before that she facilitates the families, she is Families Against Corporate Killers, she is FAC, and she helps the families of those killed by employers' negligence to get as much justice as possible. She liaises with and advises legal representatives at inquests and supports bereaved families throughout the process to ensure that they are given the say and get the best possible advice in the process. I say, she's an activist, a spokesperson of international standing. She works extremely hard and keeps in contact with many health and safety specialists, campaigners, academics and trade union health and safety representatives. And to show that, really, and I know she'll be really annoyed that I've told you all this, because she doesn't take this sort of thing.
We'll kill you.
But we have pages of people that supported the nominations, including many general secretaries, politicians, leading campaigners in this room that have supported that nomination. And I think that, really shows how important a role that you've played. And thank you very much. And we hope you will. try and keep health and safety in the agenda, and then there was Grenfell. A disaster too horrific to describe. A disaster that's been epitomised throughout the years of deregulation, years of attacks on our safety enforcement, on our fire services and fire safety officers, on the building regulations, and on the so-called austerity and cuts to the public services and local authorities. It has showed up a total disregard for the safety and welfare of vulnerable in our society, the poor, working class and their families. This was an entirely preventable tragedy, and it is an unforgivable that it has left more than 80 people dead in the Grenfell Tower. It has left a community and members of the emergency services traumatised. John MacDonald's, the Shadow Chancellor's, called it a social murder. Deliberate policies by successive governments to undermine health and safety and to ignore recommendations for safety improvements is absolutely social murder. It is also the same policies and political dogma that continues to allow more than 50,000 people each year to die as a result of work in the UK, through incidents in workplace diseases and chronic illnesses, and one that creates an environment where hundreds die by suicide because of unacceptable workplace stress, by bullying and bad management. The real numbers of people who die each year because of work is told in the real story, which we've got a copy of on the Greater Manchester Hazards campaign stand, and which we will provide copies for you if you'd like them. We send them out to you. We've worked hard to provide a useful and enjoyable weekend this weekend, and if anyone has any problems whatsoever, please make sure you come to us and we will try to resolve them and to sort them out. If you've got a problem with your bedroom accommodation, then please try in the first instance with the university, with the Keele staff. The Keele staff are fantastic. You know, we treat with total respect, they are smashing people and they work really hard with us. So we hope that we want to keep a good relationship with them. We have provided, me and Hilda have provided our personal mobile numbers for the weekend. It might be a mistake. But please don't use that unless it is an absolute emergency. It's just to make sure that out of hours that you've got some contact in case there is an absolute emergency. There's a number of documents in your packs to take home and hopefully use in the workplace, but to highlight one or two, the Hazards magazine, as I said before, the TUC have provided, are wanting some information, the 40 years of union safety representatives, they're wanting some examples for you to use to tell them about. So please can you fill that in if you can. We've provided a fire risk inspections document which we'd hope that you use back in your workplaces. It's an opportunity, not the right word, but it is an opportune time for you to go back to your workplaces and say we want to do a fire risk inspection. And I think there are not many employers that would refuse you to do that. We have high-vis jackets, which are modelled by this. Kate's gone. Oh, you've got one. I can't say they're beautiful. But it's something that you could use back in your workplaces to do your inspections in, we hope. There's fact t-shirt, there's t-shirts out there, fact DVDs to purchase. If anybody has happened to pick up a booklet which is missing from the bookmark store, and it's a personal booklet, and it's called Books, Faces, Cigarettes. It's only small. She thinks it probably someone's just picked it up and they've put stuff in the bags, or she's put it in the bags. So if you find it, it's got a personal inscription in the front cover of it. Please can you pass it back to the bookmarks. We have postcards for you to sign, for you to tweet, for you to demand of the Prime Minister that we love red tape, we don't want bloody bandages. That's what we want in our workplaces, so please fill them in. We've got a box to fill in, and take them back to your workplaces to get your colleagues to fill them in as well. And have your photograph taken with them, and tweet, please. So the hashtag is #has2017, so please tweet about the conference as you go through the weekend. Let's tell them out there that we are serious about health and safety. We have got cardboard cutouts of Daleks and Theresa May, which we're hoping tomorrow lunchtime that we can have some sort of pictures taken around it about wrapping up the deregulatory Dalits with red tape. If there's any problems with the minibus, please let us know. We've talked to them again about the minibus. And just a couple of other things. Be punctual to the wait rooms if you can, please. I understand there's people with some mobility issues, but please can you try and be as punctual as possible. There's exhibitions stands out there that we want you to go and pick up information. There's loads of health and safety information from all different workplaces, different unions. If this is student accommodation, please be mindful that it's not particularly soundproof, the accommodation, don't have parties in your room, or close to the bedrooms, or smoke just outside the bedrooms to stop people being able to open the windows. Okay, just tell you that. Finally, on a serious note, can we just finish with a minute's silence, please, for all those who have died as a result of work this year and in previous years, and we especially remember those from our fat families. So just a minute's silence. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Janet. Well, thanks, Janet. And now everybody knows the face, so if you do have any issues about the way the conference is being run or any problems you can talk about, then please do come and bother Janet on the right desk. I think those of you who've been here before will see that she's going to be a great follow-on act from Nora, so it's looking good for the future of the conference and for ASUS campaign in general, I think. But on to the main business of the evening, because we're very excited that tonight we've got Jessica Martinez from the Director of National COSH in the United States. She's come all the way to tell us about some of the great work that's been going on over there in terms of fighting occupational health and safety hazards for workers in America. Jessica.
Thank you. Great. Hi everyone. What a pleasure to be here, really, and thank you so much. What a privilege and an honor to be able to travel and share a little bit about the work that we developed at the National Council for Occupational Safety and Health. I hope by the end of my presentation you'll learn a little bit more about COSH. I really see this as an opportunity to talk to folks. I think some of the most meaningful conversations happen in the hallway, where we get to talk a little bit about the work that we can collaborate with, or be in solidarity. If we are not in the same location, we can support each other's work. Don't mind me if my 2-year-old daughter's outside pulling my leg. I'm still very happy to talk to everyone and share a little bit about our work. So, National COSH, we are a grassroots movement that developed in the 1970s in response to the Occupational Safety and Health Act. Prior to this act, which happened to be signed during the Reagan administration, and I always like to make it very clear that it was not something proposed by the Reagan administration, but rather something that happened after many years of union movement and also a big fight by workers. So again, the National COSH, we're a U.S. national level coordinating body of different local COSH groups throughout the country. So National COSH is a fairly young organization. We came about in about 2010 officially as National COSH, but the COSH movement has been alive again since the 1970s. We have about 20 local COSH groups across the country, and I will show you shortly in the map where we are located. Again, here is one of the photos of one of our local COSH groups, Southern California COSH, which is where I am located. No favoritism there. We are a non-governmental nonprofit organization. Many times people confuse us with OSHA. OSHA happens to be the Occupational Safety and Health Administration. It is the federal or government body that oversees the laws around workplace health and safety and demands that all employers provide us safe and healthy workplaces. Keyword is all employers. So all employers are responsible for safe and healthy workplaces. Our coalitions or collaborations or groups are mainly comprised of labor unions, worker centers, and I'll go into detail a little later on what worker centers are, public health professionals, family members of fallen workers, injured workers, and other interested in worker safety and health. And here's a photo again of one of our local meetings. Our mission really is, again, to just promote workplace health and safety, whether it's through education, policy campaigns, organizing, and general advocacy to both politicians and key leaders in our communities. I wanted to sort of kick off the presentation showing you a little bit about what is the reason that we do the work that we do. We have many factors that promote the work that we do, but one of the most powerful reasons that we work in organizing is for families. I will show a very short clip and we'll proceed with the presentation, but just some of the members that make part of our coalition at the state level. That said, I will press play.
It's like we're living a nightmare, and we've been to hell, and we're trying to come up out of it.
I'm still the father of 3 people. Just one was gone now.
He had a life, starting his dreams. He had started school. He had many things planned. And he screwed up that decision.
When I look at these pictures, to me, it just looks very unsafe. Where is the safety? Is this how it's always done? It's too late for my dad. Let's look at what they can do to make it safer for their other employees.
My mom she had such a bubbly personality, just when she walked in the room, you would know it. There was supposed to be a trainer there with her to actually, help her with the training process. I don't know to this day how she ended up there by herself. It was internal decapitation, and basically everything, upper body, everything was just crushed. When will we start, having a higher value for, human life in the workplace?
We're losing over 4,000 people a year, but because it happens in dips and drabs and only 14 people a day, we kind of turn our back on it. A lot of people go along and don't realize it. They just, oh, well, it didn't happen to me. And that's wrong.
Safety should be a #1 priority and held to the highest level. That's what we all are fighting for. To me, there's a whole lot that, that can be done. I really feel like it starts with our government.
And it hurts the profit on the company, it hurts the person. Most all of these are preventable. Most of all of these disasters that happen.
You want to get the job done and whatever it takes. Sometimes you forget about your life or the risk. I want people to know that their life is more valuable than getting the work done. And if it's not safe, saying, I'm not doing it. If they say, well, you might get fired, it's not worth it to take that risk.
People go to job, they're going to a job so that they can provide for their family. They're not going to a job to come not come back home.
I think sometimes it almost feels like it's our family against the company. I think companies need to take a stand to make sure that the families are informed.
You know what happens when an airplane goes down? They investigate everything, and they know what the pilots were talking about. They know what every system on that plane was going on. That's what I think we need. We need that kind of corrective action. What we want to do is we want to honor him. We don't want him or her forgotten. And we now have a mission, I guess, to keep this from happening to other people.
Nothing's gonna bring back my husband, but at least I know it's not gonna happen again, or at least I feel relieved that nobody's gonna go through what I've been through.
Every time I see this video, I've seen it thousands of times, and it always brings me goosebumps. This is just an example of some of our COSH members, folks that form part of our coalition. If you notice a running theme at the end of this session, I don't know if anyone in particular really took something from it. I'd like to open it up to the floor before I give it out. Any thoughts, quick thoughts? I have a 20-minute presentation, but just really quickly.
So about the money?
About the money, right? Any other thoughts?
Yeah, I noticed that most of them, when they appealed, the companies cried off and
Very
reduced it by quite a substantial amount.
Right, right. So that is a problem in the United States, that we have enforcement. It's a very weak enforcement, and we reduce the lives of our family members, of our loved ones, to $5,000, $3,000. And this is after having the nerve to appeal a case and being slapped. It's a slap in the wrist for these multi-million-dollar, billion-dollar companies in some cases. So a lot of these family members might not be active when their family members are working, bringing bread to the home, but after, when the family is ready, we invite them to join our coalitions. There is a time of grief that we respect, but at that moment, several of them come to our COSH coalitions feeling very empowered to want to take action. So I just wanted to share this really early on, to share a little bit about what is the driving force for our COSH groups. One of many, one being the families, of course, and just the power of testimony, which we'll talk about too. I wanted to also give a little bit of history, just a glimpse. Again, I mentioned earlier that the COSH movement was built from the labor movement, in essence. One of the first activities around it was when we had the Triangle Shirtwaist Fire in 1911, which happened in New York, which was one of the deadliest industrial disasters in the history of the city. and one of the deadliest in the U.S. history. The fire caused the deaths of 146 garment workers, 123 women, 23 men who died from the fire, smoke inhalation, falling, or jumping to their deaths. So there was a running theme, and you would think that now in this century we would be done and be able to prevent these, but we keep seeing these chemical explosions still happening in what people call first world countries. So again, another part of our history is when we had another explosion in West Virginia, which killed 29 miners in 1968. As mentioned earlier, Koch movement formed in the 1970s after the Osh Act. Most of the coalitions back then were primarily formed exclusively for labor unions. Now our coalitions have diversified. It does not just include labor union leaders. It includes folks from worker centers, from families, health and safety professionals, and worker leaders who are simply interested in knowing a little bit more about their rights that might not necessarily be part of a union, but want to learn a little bit more about their rights at the workplace. Again, I'm not going to go too much into detail with the history, but here's a map of where we are located in the United States. As you can tell, the red dots is where we have active Koch groups. There's still a big piece of the United States that we're missing, the Koch movement. And it is definitely one of our challenges, and even a bigger challenge now that a lot of our groups are being